live? Oh, it looks like we're live. Here it is.
Live.
Hola y bienvenidos, angelinos. Welcome back, Galaxy fans, to the Galaxy Guy Show. Como siempre, I'm your host, Chris Maldonado, and we are here tonight, super excited to be coming through your screens and your speakers live. That's right. F it. We're doing it live. Yes, this is our first ever live show. The anticipation is real. We've been talking backstage right now. The nerves have been getting to us. And then Matt says, dude, this is exactly what we do every week. We just don't do it live. There's no difference. It's not like we edit this, right? So here we are. It's been a long time coming. We're doing it. And you guys and gals all know the drill. We have a great post-game recap for you. We are, of course, talking about the LA Galaxies 2-3 defeat to the Seattle Sounders this weekend. Saturday, just yesterday, a little over 24 hours ago. It still stings. It hurts. A real roller coaster of a game. It left a lot of fans with more questions than answers. Lucky for you, we might just have some of those answers for you tonight on the show. We have a great insight, third-person perspective, somebody who's actually keeping their eye close to everything that happens in the league, not just the Galaxy. So it's very good having that perspective. We're going to break down the stats, provide our analysis, as well as talk about the good, the bad, and possibly maybe even the ugly of the game. Now, being that this is our first live show ever to talk about the Galaxy tonight, aside from my usual hosts, Matt and Casey, we've got joining us the one and only Mr. MLS himself, Eli Lesser, host of This Week in MLS. Eli, welcome to the show. How are you, dude?
You know, despite the L to the Sounders, probably one of my least favorite teams to lose to, I'm doing pretty good. You know, I got to watch a full slate of soccer yesterday. I'm happy. And you know what? Sure, we may have lost 3-2, but I'm thinking positives only heading into the next one against Orlando, because there was a lot that we'll unpack later that I thought looked really good from the Galaxy that I think I want to hone in on. We'll talk about the bads and the Kevin Cabrals of the night, but we'll also get to the good stuff as well.
Absolutely, man. And just let me say real quick, Eli, dude, big congratulations on everything you've got going for you right now with MLS and all the stuff you're doing. You're traveling to all the games. You were at the game last weekend, if I'm not mistaken, at Charlotte.
Oh, so good.
Dude, so good. The content you're putting out is phenomenal. So the only way is up. So congrats on that. You guys know the rest. You guys know Matt. You guys know Casey. They are with me week after week. Casey, I'll start with you. How are you doing, man? How did you enjoy this game?
I'm a little sunburnt from my nephew's t-ball game yesterday, but I guess that's par for the course, you know, for me on this show. But feeling good. Despite the L, feeling good this weekend. So good to be back.
Good to have you back, man. And SPF 50. Can't say that enough. Matt, how about you, man? How are you doing?
You know what? I'm doing good. JLab decided to sponsor us, so I have a microphone now. No more Apple iPods. And They Love the Crafts decided to give me a drink receptacle that helps keep my drinks covert. And I guess before we get on to anything else, so obviously we're going to be giving away tickets during the live stream, but just for people who can't watch it during Sunday because they have kids or they take the weekend all the way down to the last second. If you happen to watch this show on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and everyone is going to be in for the this jersey we're going to give away. Beautiful Galaxy replica that Chris is going to provide. So pretty cool jersey. And also, if you see me at the stadium and it says this on the back, that's me. Just come say hi.
Yeah, that's us. We have custom Galaxy Guy jerseys. I still have to get you yours, Casey. It was tough finding a jersey in your size, man. You guys haven't seen Casey at the stadium. He's a very tall guy. He towers over me. So very tall guy. But listen, it's a pleasure having you guys on. Like Matt just said, we are having a ticket giveaway sometime during the show. So stay tuned. You will have the possibility, the chance of winning yourself 2 tickets to next week's home game, LA Galaxy versus Orlando City. That's going to be a good game, right? So stay tuned, stick around. As far as this last week's game, yesterday's game against the Seattle Sounders, I had the pleasure of catching it at a viewing party You guys know my favorite location is Springbok Bar and Grill. There was a huge turnout. Saturday game in the middle of the day, but the place was full. There was like 60, 70 Galaxy fans out there cheering, eating, drinking, just generally having a great time. So shout out to them and shout out to everyone in the 818. It's great fun. I hope to see more of you guys there next time. But with that said, let's get right into it, guys, right? We've got all these people in the chat room here excited to watch the show. Let's talk about the buildup to this match prior to Saturday's game, right? The Galaxy fan base was, I don't know if it's fair to say, but people were cautiously optimistic with this team. They had gone 2 straight games without conceding a goal. The defense looked very improved over the last couple seasons. Fairly good start. 2 wins, 6 points across 2 games. Chicharito scoring, right? So they looked mostly competent. Well, that was, of course, until yesterday, Saturday, and it all kind of seemed to be a flashback to the last couple seasons. So let me ask you guys first. I'll ask Eli, our guest, what was your take of the LA Galaxy these first 2 games before the game on Saturday with the Seattle Sounders? What would you have said about this LA Galaxy team?
It's interesting because I wasn't as like, oh my God, we're the best team in the league as a lot of us were, especially because, one of those 1-0 victories was against Charlotte, a team that, yeah, it was their home opener, but they look like a high school team out there compared to some of the teams. That DC United match, that first one they had, they looked awful. So I was hoping, to get more than a 1-0 victory out of it and more than just an absolute golazo from Efra to get 3 points against those guys. But at the same time, it's an away win in the biggest crowd in MLS history. I took it. I liked a lot of I want ticket booze. I wanted a lot of more individual efforts from certain guys. I think the first 2 matches, there were some pleasant surprises. Guys like Raheem Edwards coming in, just immediately making an impact. I've coined the name Raheem the Dream, and I've noticed some other Galaxy pages have fallen or have gone and picked it up. So Raheem the Dream is here. He got a hockey assist in this one as well, and MLS.com counts those. So he is leading the league currently with assists. So that's pretty dope. So a lot of great individual efforts. But one.
Eli's having a bit of a connection issue there, but we're good.
Am I?
Just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
You're good.
But yeah, I just wanted to see some more out of these guys, more creativity. And what was great about this, G-Man said it first. Okay, I will properly credit G-Man. But yes.
Trademark, baby.
I love it. But one thing that we got to see early on in this Sounders match was great combination play on the attack. That first goal had such a beautiful build-up. From Raheem to Ryan to Chicha, just such a great setup. And that had me thinking, wait, we could actually beat the Sounders this time. Because last season, we actually played the Sounders the 3rd game of the year, and that was a disaster. And I was scared that would happen again. And, Galaxy against the Sounders hasn't gone very well over the last 7 years. I don't think we've won in Seattle. But I was excited after that first goal, and I thought we were going to do something. We were about to make something happen. And honestly, throughout the entire match, we were dominating the possession, dominating more than the Galaxy normally dominate in possession. And it was just a couple mental lapses that cost the Galaxy this one. And I don't think the Sounders deserve 3 points.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the Sounders were kind of poor those first 2 games, right? And I mean, they're in CONCACAF competition, was usually kind of signs a death warrant to a lot of these teams. We've seen it happen many times in MLS, but I would say that's a fair assessment, right? You guys would say that it's fair to say people were cautiously optimistic. Well, let me get your take on this, guys. What were your first impressions of the Galaxy across the first 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, those first 2 wins, 1-0 victories. Obviously, you probably would have wanted to see more goals in that second game against Charlotte, especially considering the quality of play we've seen from Charlotte in their first games as well. But it's a game that's a daunting fixture on any team's schedule, is playing away in Seattle. It's their fortress. It's like Eli said, we haven't beaten them at home in probably 6 or 7 years. So it's something you have to be cautiously optimistic about. And considering that we only had 1-0 victories in those first 2 games, I wasn't expecting us to be bagging tons of goals, especially the way Seattle was playing. They had us low blocked for most of the game. They parked the bus for most of it. This, outside of the opportunities that they had to spring forward. So it's just one of those things where you can't win them all. And like it was alluded to plenty of times on the broadcast, this was always going to be a measuring stick of a match, to determine the Galaxy's quality for the season. And as Greg even said, to make strides in the Western Conference, you basically have to go through Seattle these days. And we ultimately failed the test yesterday. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Matt, let me ask you this: was this a game that the Galaxy would you say should have won? Should the Galaxy have won this game?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, we were coming in looking pretty good. Obviously, like you said, cautiously optimistic because we had started hot before, only to fall off about June or August, which is like typical in Galaxy fashion, and then fall apart on decision day. But Seattle had lost 2 in a row. They have very clearly put all their eggs in the basket of playing Champions League. And I was hoping they would just do the same thing that they did in their last 2 games and play their teenagers against us.
Yeah.
But anyone who knows anybody from Seattle, they're a very jealous bunch of people for being a second city. So they played their starters against us naturally. And then, like we played really well. Like as Eli was saying, he hit the nail on the head. We outpossessed them. We outpassed them. Our goals were in the run of play. We had the better opportunities, more shots. That's just the way it broke. And we'll probably get into it when we get into the bad and the ugly. But it's really unfortunate that it kind of went that way. There was definitely more potential to get more points out of there. But the great teams are gonna close it out, and we're not a great team yet. That's just facts.
Well, it's a good thing you mentioned the good and the ugly, Matt, because as you guys know, that's the meat of the sandwich of this show. You guys know we have to break that down. We'll talk about the stats, and we'll give our analysis on that. And we do have third-person perspective, somebody who does keep their eye close to everything that happens in the league. So it's always good to have that. Eli, the expert himself. So without further ado, let's do it. How about Matt, Casey, Eli? What do you guys say we talk about that match? Break it down a little bit more. Shall we do it?
I love sandwiches.
I just got a little hungry thinking about sandwiches.
Big meaty hoagie of Galaxy info.
Man, let's do it. Okay, so let's dive deeper into that stuff. We're moving into the section of the show, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We actually naturally always start with the good. So let's do that. Let's talk about the good. And I'll start this off with our guest. Eli, what were the good moments for the LA Galaxy in this game?
I definitely, we saw the typical Vanny style that he always preached of like possessing the ball for as much of the match as possible. I didn't feel like we got that much last season as much as Vanny said we did. And I really felt it this time. And I guess you don't really feel it until you play a team like Seattle and you play like that against Seattle. And it was great to see the combination play. Like I mentioned earlier, that first goal got me really excited for what this Galaxy team could be. And the fact that, like Costa wasn't even really involved in that first goal. And, throughout the match, he set up some very beautiful chances that were ultimately not finished, whether it was from, Kevin Cabral, Araujo. We'll get to that in the ugly side. Costa's a fraud. I don't believe it. Honestly, I think Costa's been a lot better than most people are giving him credit for. We have seen the cloudy there. We just need it more consistently. And I'm just very glad that he got on the score sheet, which was like my other big positive of the week, because I feel like at least in that Charlotte match, he had some really, really great flashes of individual effort. And I was just waiting for that to finally translate onto the score sheet. And sure, the free kick might have taken a deflection on its way in, but either way, he took that shot. He got it in. He got credit for the goal. He's on the score sheet. That's all I really wanted out of him for that match. And, I'm excited to see him keep building because I've always been on since the beginning, like he is not going to be a flop like everyone says he's going to be. And I'm going to stick by that. And that is the train or whatever the hill I'm gonna die on. It was just great to see him doing that.
That's a lot of confidence, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, we've just had so many flops in DPs over the last few seasons, to the point where it's just like, I just want to see like one of these former European stars come here. I mean, I guess Zlatan counts, but you know what I mean. But like, just one of these guys just to not be a flop. We needed a 10, or he's a winger, but we needed a guy like him. We needed creativity, and I'm excited about it. And yeah, the Flash had flashes. But those were some of the positives. And although he didn't really have a great, well-rounded game, Raheem the Dream still coming up with a hockey assist, being involved in a goal. I wouldn't say the rest of his match was his best, but we're not going to expect him to be that high quality every single match. He was he was a Chivas USA reject anyway, so take the best we could take.
Hey, and on Costa, by the way, before we get to this, it looks like we have a super chat, which is kind of strange. This is our first live show. We get a super chat from Jennifer, who says, "Congrats on your first live show, guys. Go Galaxy." Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Oh man, we're gonna need an accountant soon.
That's $10 towards our hey, the guys over at Corner of the Galaxy have a private jet. They have their own studio, so this is just it's going in our piggy bank for a limo, a stretch limo. So we can go to all the games in a stretch limo. Thank you. So Eli, I agree with you, bro. Listen, I am on the camp of wanting Costa to succeed as an LA Galaxy player. I don't think I know of anybody out there as a Galaxy fan who will argue wanting a player to not succeed. I've been very vocal on this show. I've been very vocal on social media, cautionary with Douglas Costa, right? Because he does have a history. He has a history of injury, kind of has a history of not being very serious as a player. But like G-Man said, I think somebody else in the chat room said, he showed flashes of that, and he's showing flashes, right? He might not be a full 90 player yet, but we're seeing it. So hopefully we see it a lot more consistently. So agree with that. Casey, I'll ask you next. What was the top moment for the LA Galaxy? What did they do that was good in this game? I know you have some stats for us.
I think Eli really alluded to it in his segment there. It was the ball movement and possession. We had 64% possession against the Seattle team that, again, just played the low block for most of the game. We controlled a lot of the tempo, lots of quick passing transitions forward through the midfield. There was 88% passing accuracy, which is great.
Yeah.
In the midfield, we could seemingly ping it wherever we wanted to. There were balls going everywhere, swinging wide. The attack was moving very well and effectively. There was solid pressure to win the ball in key areas of the midfield as well, which is hard to do against a team like Seattle. Highly effective runs off the ball, which we saw in that first goal. There were a lot of great decoy runs kind of on the outside of the box there that led to some good ball movement and allowed Chicha to cut into a good area, and as well as Raveloson. And Seattle was sitting back most of the game and basically invited us into their own half. And they were really slow transitioning back as well, which is kind of uncharacteristic of them. They play very quick and very technical football. So I think that was really good to see. And let's talk about the coach and physio attire.
So before we do that, I have to pause you right there real quick, Casey. Our good friend Alias Zero, who's a phenomenal dude, always active across the Discords, a guy that's always supported us, dude. He just dropped $100 on the live stream. Wow. Look at that. That's a lot of picanha. That's a lot of picanha. People are saying in the chat, wow, is that Herb? I think that's a reference to the guy that's always dropping crazy amounts of money on the Corner of the Galaxy chat. We have another live chat for $20 from 8,000 RPMs. There's no super chat attached to that, but still appreciate the $20, whoever that is. Really thankful.
Oh, another one.
Word up.
Another one. Oh, look at that. We've got one from $50.
Hey, yo.
Thank
you, everybody.
Really, truly appreciate it. Wow, that's very generous. It looks like we might be working on that stretch limo a little faster than we thought. But yeah, sorry, Casey, I cut you off, brother.
No worries.
Drop those stats on us, man.
Oh, I just wanted to talk about the coaching attire. I want Greg's jacket. I don't know where anybody is able to find it. It's sleek. It's very minimal, but it's something I want hanging up in this closet behind me. And the physio always rocking that OG logo hat. Just saw him wear it in the Charlotte game and in the game against Seattle yesterday. Big ups to him. So I just wanted to say, coach and physio attire has been on point lately.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to just say this real quick.
That's Roldan's brother wearing that.
Was that Roldan's brother?
I think that's Roldan's brother.
Is it really?
That's the alpha Roldan.
That's the alpha.
The better Roldan.
The better Roldan. I don't know. Did you guys? I mean, we were watching the same game. There was a stretch of game there in the first half where the LA Galaxy looked super clean and crisp. The passes were great. Perhaps some of the best soccer I've seen the Galaxy play in a very, very long time. That first goal, the setup to that goal was just phenomenal. The 1-2 touch, right? Raheem Edwards with that phenomenal pass, just weaved it right through, and then that finish by Chicharito, on such an experienced veteran goalkeeper like Stephen Fry. It's just amazing.
That pass from Raheem Edwards was basically a carbon copy of his assist in the opener against NYCFC. He's so good at those penetrating passes forward into the box. It's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, Eli, you know this. You've kept up with the league longer than most people. I mean, you're right there watching the games. I know you go through like tired 24-hour stretches where all you're doing is watching MLS. Stephen Fry is still one of the top goalkeepers in the league, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say he's fallen out of the top 5 for me, but he's still top 10 for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And, the way that, it's not just that we did that in general. And first of all, that stretch you're talking about, I noticed, and that was the best out of all 3 of our matches so far. Probably better than a lot, pretty much most of our best stretches of last season, even when we were at the top of the table. It was just that good and that fun to watch for the Galaxy. And that's why I went out of this loss very optimistic about the next match against Orlando and the match after that, because what I saw there, and, we talk about the flashes of Douglas Costa, but just the flashes of the team play there showed me that this Galaxy team actually has something that could actually be amazing.
Antonio's feeling a little poor. Yes, but
yeah.
Look, the Johnson Albra, by the way, shout out John, one of our listeners. The problem is that even though we play well, it always feels like we are ready to concede. That, my friend, is a problem that has carried over with the Galaxy for such a long time. And before I get Matt's take and we close out the segment of talking about the good stuff, but that is just so true, guys. I mean, it's been season after season. We've seen the Galaxy play tremendous soccer for periods of time, and then all of a sudden, it's just like the defense doesn't know what to do with themselves. And we're definitely got to get into that. We're going to talk about that. But Matt, before we close off this goods section, what were the best moments for the LA Galaxy this Saturday at Seattle?
Well, I'm going to double down on Eli's point, also known as the professor, on Costa, because he just had a phenomenal game. I'll just read through a couple of stats. 68 minutes, 1 goal, 2 shots, 1 on target, 16 presses, which is incredible for a guy who's still trying to get fit. He had a tackle, an interception, and that dual stat is the most of any of our forwards. So more than Chicha, more than Efra, more than Granser, and definitely more than Cabral. He had 4 shot-creating actions, which is second on the team. 6 progressive passes, which puts him first on the team. And then in terms of dribbles, which I had brought up last week, Cabral was just flailing on. He had 6 attempted dribbles, which is first on the team, and he had 5 of them completed, which is also first on the team. And I don't know if you guys saw, but he okey-doked João Paulo, who's probably the best DM in the league.
Yeah.
Nasty. Oh my God, I haven't been that embarrassed for a person since I was embarrassed for myself the first time I got dumped. It was straight up ugly, man. Talk about getting left at the door. Jesus Christ. But I think what you're seeing now with the team is you're starting to see foundational pieces, right? Of who's really going to matter in the structure of this team going forward. Like Edwards is one of them. Chicha's an obvious one. Delgado is one of them. Rav is probably still finding his way. But Costa, looks really good. And if he can stay healthy, you're seeing all the creativity that can flow through him. When he came out of the game, we kind of got stifled. I'm super, super bullish on Costa. I just think that he just adds so much flair, so much beauty to the game. It's something we've been just sorely lacking. And when you look at Costa and what he brings versus Efra and what he brings, this is kind of like a little bit of a dream come true. I'm hoping he just gets a good amount of sleep, doesn't go out drinking every night, and continues to have a very good season. But that's my good.
How dare you say that? No, listen, I've been very critical of Douglas. I'll say it again. I will own up to it. I've been very critical of him. But I will say this, those long passes, even off the side of the foot, how incredibly hard is it to do? It's so hard to do that, to get a long pass with that curve and that level of accuracy. He's getting the ball to the player right where the player is. It's kind of hard to describe, but he gets the ball right where that player is going, in that same direction at the same speed. It's almost perfectly calculated. It's so hard to do. World-class stuff. So hopefully we see more of that. I just want to see a little more hustle, because we see guys like Samuel Grancer get in there, and he's not as good or as skillful as Costa, but he's out there hustling, playing his heart out. That's why he's a fan favorite. And I said this on Gio's show last week, Gio Garcia, LA Soccer Hub. Shout out to him. There's a reason why people, when you bring up Cabral and you bring up Grancer, it's almost unanimous. The fan base loves Samuel Grancer, even though last season, which was both their first seasons together, they played almost the exact same amount of games, the exact amount of minutes, and they had the exact same production. I think Cabral had 5 goals and 3 assists, and Samuel had 5 assists and 3 goals. It was like something crazy like that, right? It's the exact same production. But if you were to ask Galaxy fans who they prefer, they'll tell you, they prefer Samuel Grancer over Cabral. Why is that? Because Samuel Grancer is out there game after game, running, hustling, chasing balls.
Yeah. And there were a couple of balls that came over the top to Cabral, and he just didn't hustle for the touch. Yeah. Especially in the 18, where he could have easily laid off a ball to somebody to score. I mean, it like you said, the hustle just needs to be there.
Yeah.
And I think with Grancer has kind of given me like a lesser version of what Roman Alessandrini gave the Galaxy. And I think that's why Galaxy fans have connected with him so much, because he has that same drive and effort as Alessandrini. He's not the same skill level as Roman, but I think that's why a lot of us are getting behind him. And I think that he should start next match over Cabral. I know that's not a hot take or anything, but it's a hot take according to Greg Vanny. And I would love. Yeah, I'm not gonna attempt to pronounce Samuel Grancer the way
Grancer.
Shout out. That it's actually pronounced.
Shout out to Mike Gray. Listen, we are going to butcher a lot of names on this show, right? Like, it was hilarious when Ravelison was. By the way, to this day, people don't even know how to pronounce his
name.
They
were calling him Ryan Revolution for a while.
I missed when it was Revolution. Those were good days.
Joe Totino was calling him one thing, Kobe was calling him another, and the fans have called him whatever. But it's been good. It's been good so far. Grancer, what I don't know. We'll get it eventually. But it's good. I see that a lot of people are joining us in the chat room, which is great. Phenomenal having you guys on here with us. It's kind of hard keeping with the chat room. Wasn't expecting this on our first live show, by the way. The chat room's going nuts. And again, all of the super chats, very much appreciate that. That's awesome of you guys. It's gonna keep our lifestyles going.
It's gonna keep the lights on. It's gonna
get some
food on my table.
We're gonna pop some Cristal after the show. But all right. So as far as I'm concerned, guys, we covered the good stuff, broke down the stats. We, of course, now have to talk about the bad stuff. There was a lot of bad stuff in this game. We have to do it. Matt, I'm going to kick it off with you, dude, because I know you've got your stats. What were the worst moments, the bad moments for the LA Galaxy this Saturday in Seattle?
I feel like we're going to have a little bit of overlap here, because I know for sure we have like ravioli. There's two big bads here. But I'll go with set pieces. This is a Danger TRL on the Discord, which we usually link the Discord. Had pointed this out from the very beginning. The Galaxy are a naturally very short team, one of the shortest teams in the league. And when you're short in stature as an athlete, as anyone will tell you competitively, like you have to be more physical. You have to have that upstairs a little bit more. And the Galaxy has had a long string of having a very soft culture in the locker room. And moreover than that, set pieces it's not something new for us. This is something that we had with DC United when we played them, and I think Greg said something to the effect of like, "Oh, well, we just didn't have time to practice set pieces." Okay, but you knew back then, like that was a problem, right? And then we continue with the season, and we're just getting wrecked by them. It's just something that needs to be corrected. It's something that really falls on the coach, I think, more than the players. Like obviously the players go out there and play, but like that's something the coach really needs to nail down. That's something he should have seen vertically challenged. I've been vertically challenged my whole life. So that's my bad. It's just set pieces. It's something very basic. It's something everyone has to work on. But the Galaxy aren't a team that's too good for working on fundamentals, so they kind of need to get to it. And the only reason Cabral is not getting brought up today is because I do it too much. But just know, I will bring a little stat real quick. If you go to whoscored.com, on each match, it gives you average positional spot on the field. In the first match against NYFC, Chicha was the highest, where he should be. But in the last two matches, Cabral has been the highest in the field by a pretty considerable margin, which, in my opinion, is a pretty disgusting that a 33-year-old should be dropping into the middle of the field getting chopped down, while the 23-year-old is just lounging by the offsides line. That's just me. That's all I'm going to say.
Is too,
but we'll go ahead and push it to someone else.
To elaborate on that a little bit more, I mean, Chicha drops down deeper than we usually are used to seeing him, and it puts him in situations where he's forced to be the distributor. And quite honestly, he's not that guy to distribute final passes and final balls. He's the guy who's supposed to be finishing. That should be Cabral or Costa or Vasquez or Efrain's job. That doesn't need to be Chicha's job.
And going off that, I just wanted to mention, not only was Chicha playing lower, he was also playing out wide a lot in certain instances in that match. And I noticed where like there were certain chances where he was the guy that had to whip in the cross. And I was just like, what are we doing? Because the last thing you want is having Chicharito whipping across to Kevin Cabral. That is a disaster waiting to happen.
And I mean, how many times did we see that last season? Chicharito, his first season as well, right? And how many times did we see that with Zlatan, where he had to drop into the midfield, drop? Sometimes I think that, there was a couple times where he took a couple of the corners. You have your tallest target striker taking corners. It makes no sense. It's the lack of creativity in the midfield, which we've been dealing with for so long. I mean, Raheem Edwards, the dream. Don't get me wrong. I made a meme about it, right? He's kind of like our Cam now. It's crazy. He's our most creative player on the field, and this guy's a fullback. Well, he's transitioning into a fullback, but he's traditionally a winger, so it makes sense. But go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess since we're going to go down this well and start swimming, it comes down to positional integrity, right? So, like the really bad part about this is like Greg's trying to run this 4-2-3-1 or something like it. And like Cabral spending his entire time trying to be the one, like I'm sure that's not what Greg envisioned, but it's just, I don't know, like someone needs to like crack the whip a little bit and tell people to like start doing their job like they're supposed to.
Absolutely.
Well, it creates, I mean, really, like you said, positional integrity, and it creates moments of sheepishness where, even in the situation yesterday where Seattle was low blocking the bejesus out of us, we were still able to find good areas in space. But the final balls weren't great, and the finishing wasn't there. And I think on top of that, too, we showed Seattle a little bit too much of the ball moving forward. And that's kind of what caught us out in the long run in the final third.
Right. And I mean, I don't believe in luck, right? And I've said this a million times on the show before. I don't believe in luck. We hit the woodwork twice, right? That Efrain Alvarez shot, which was a carbon copy of last week's shot in Charlotte. I mean, how awesome would that have been? Like to do it back to back at that age, it would have been phenomenal for his confidence and just for the highlight reels. You know what I mean? It would have been crazy if he had one goal of the week back to back by doing the exact same thing. And then I think Cabral hit the woodwork as well. So we had the chances. It just, we weren't able to finish them. Just like Casey said. Eli, I'll ask you, brother. What were the worst moments for the LA Galaxy in this game?
Well, definitely one that crosses my mind, and probably the most unnecessary moment of the match was the tackle Julian Araujo made that led to the penalty. I thought that was a real momentum shifter for the Galaxy. It was 1-1 at that point, but I felt like even after the Sounders' first goal, which was like such a bull I'll just say bull. I won't say that I won't swear on here, but it was such like a bush league goal. Jordan Morris sliding into James Bond, Jonathan Bond for that. And I just feel like that completely unnecessary tackle from Julian Araujo. Julian knew that was an unnecessary tackle immediately. It deserved a pen, unfortunately, and I felt like that was the real shifter. And I feel like that's where the Galaxy started to really lose it a bit more. And after that, the great possession, we talked about that time where the Galaxy were just absolutely amazing in that match. I felt like that kind of ended that. And I think for the rest of the match, the Galaxy got in desperation mode, trying to get back into it and get, not only to level it, which they did, but, eventually score their third that they weren't able to. And I just think that was a key moment for me that I think really set the tone for the rest of the match. And I think, unfortunately, Julian was the best fullback in MLS last year. You cannot tell me anything different. That was probably the worst performance I've seen from the type of bounce back.
And I mentioned it last week, but and I mentioned it on the Reddit subreddit yesterday, but he just seems to have this edge to him this season. I don't know what it is. There was that takedown in the box against NYCFC that arguably should have been a penalty kick. There was that elbow situation on the sideline last week that arguably could have been a red card if they decided to VAR it a little bit deeper. And then there was the coming across Freddie Montero in the box when Sega Koulibaly was already pressuring Freddie Montero. And it just seemed completely reckless and completely illogical.
Very reckless.
I don't understand where this edge is coming from with Julian Araujo.
So I want to get your take on this, guys, because I was having a conversation with my good friend Alonso on Instagram. He's always hitting me up and just sharing a lot of soccer talk, banter back and forth. And he was suggesting, should Julian Araujo be benched for a game or two by Greg to kind of, just it's a little nudge, hey, listen, your job here is not permanent. You're still young, learn your place. Might knock some sense into him. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? And I'd like to know, the chat room, if you guys can let me know, should Julian Araujo be benched for a game or two, just so he kind of gets the point, kind of cools down a little bit? You're not all that. Knock it down a notch. What do you guys think? Matt, what do you think?
Oh boy, I'm about to get flamed for this one. I'm gonna say because there was a time period last year where who was starting in front of him? Who was that player who ended up being really bad that we released last year? Who started in front of Julian the first two games?
Ralph Felcher.
What did you say? Not Ralph Felcher. Anyways, he's released now, so he doesn't matter anymore.
O'Neal Fisher.
Fisher. Okay, so Fisher had a good 2 games. And he ended up starting in front of Julian, and Julian took that very personally, and then he went on to have his best season of all time, right? I think part of the problem with Julian is, one, he knows he's not going to get benched. He has that much courage behind him, right? Which is good sometimes, but I think Vapor had mentioned it, he might have become cocky enough to the point where he thinks he can get away with stuff that he can't really get away with. I think he could do with a little bit of humbling, I had said before that, Julian should have been sold after last season. And the problem with being a good player on a bad team is that, you learn bad habits, right? I think in basketball, it's a lot easier to see, when you have a good basketball player on a bad team, they start playing hero ball all the time. They don't really learn how to play the game. They only learn how to get their team to survive. And I think for the last 2 years, Julian's had to do that. I want to say a lot of his mistakes have been him trying to overcreate or him trying to overcompensate for a midfield that doesn't really reflect the midfield of the last 2 years, right? So because Julian has essentially overstayed and now his bad habits look worse because he has a better structured team, I think might be the time to maybe especially since Orlando, we have Leardom, who's a very good player. Maybe just let him cool off for a little bit, let him get back to fundamentals, because a person who's going to continue to play hero ball, European teams are going to see that. He just needs to relearn how to do just his job. He doesn't need to be the hero anymore. We have other good players now. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't think benching him for a game is like the most crushing blow to anybody. And honestly, like if benching you for a game like breaks your back, then you're probably not going to be a very good professional going forward.
It seems like the chat room is split. Like John saying he shouldn't. That would do more harm than good. I can see how that could be true. Antonio says that I think Araujo might need to be benched. Who will replace him, though? That's a really good point. Who do you bring on when you bench Araujo?
Well, Kelvin Leerdam is actually like a much better backup option than the Galaxy have had over the last few years. He's better than an O'Neal Fisher. He's better than Rolf Felcher. He's a guy that has won an MLS Cup with Seattle. And I was actually kind of expecting him to maybe get subbed on for Julian in that match because I thought like that was something that should have happened. I don't know what else to say about that. But, Leerdam is a great option. Although I definitely see what you're saying, Matt. I'm just so like on the Julian Araujo hype train that like I can't imagine us not playing him because I still have like a lot of faith in him, and maybe he's just going through a rough patch. I think we need like, when do we have like a 2-match week coming up? Do we have a 2-match week this year? Do we have that?
I think we have a midweek game against Minnesota in like 2 months or something like that on a Wednesday.
2 months? That's not soon enough. Because I feel like if we had like a 2-match week, that's when you like bench Julian for one game or something.
Leerdam.
Give him but I do want to see Leerdam play because he is a great backup option, or even just he's a suitable starter if needed. And he is a great attacking fullback, and I think Julian is, I don't even know what Julian's best at because he's great at a lot of things, but not also like great at everything. It's hard to explain with Julian, but that aggression that he has, I've noticed that as well, Casey. But I kind of like that. I just need him to be smarter with it.
Smarter. That's the word right there. Smarter, right? Everybody who's watching right now, anybody who has seen Julian Araujo play for the LA Galaxy knows that he is a talented player. He's a top prospect. The sky's the limit for him, right? He's one of the most talented players on our team, period. But it's like an attitude adjustment with him. It's like Matt said, he's kind of playing a little bit of hero ball there. He learned some bad habits from playing on some really bad teams. So this is a job for Greg Vanney. He has to coach his player. Right. It's one thing is coaching the team. Another thing is being a man coach, right? A player coach. Like you have to be able to manage the young players. And this also falls upon, the shoulders of some of the older, more experienced players on the roster, guys like Sasha, guys like Victor Vasquez. Victor Vasquez has spoken on it before. When he first came on and he was on my show when he signed, he talked about wanting to be a mentor for guys like Efrain Alvarez, and he named Efrain Alvarez by name. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens to Julian. A lot of people in the chat room are asking about pupusas, and they're asking, by the way, it's pupusas. It's pupusas. Pronounced pupusas. I've heard it pronounced many different ways recently, but it's pupusas. And they're asking about the giveaway. Listen, we're still going to give away those tickets. Hang tight. We're going to finish off the bad takes, which I think we're almost there. And then it's going to be a single question that's going to be asked. The first person to answer that question gets the tickets. Simple as that. So keep your eye out on that chat room because we will be asking that question shortly, and you will have the chance to win those 2 tickets to the Orlando game. So, guys, before we wrap up the bad, is there anything else to add? Anything that was just horrible, horrendous from the LA Galaxy on Saturday that we have to talk about?
Look, this might not be a very popular take, but despite the assist, I really don't think Raveloson had that great of a game yesterday.
Agreed.
Sure, he got an assist. Sure, he had that bicycle attempt near the end of the match. But transitioning forward, the ball just gets held up through him. He mostly turned his back to pressure a lot of the times when he was moving through the midfield. None of his pressures to win the ball back were effective at all. He only had 2 out of 13 successful pressures, and the only person who fared worse out of 19 attempts was Raheem Edwards. Would I have changed my mind if he scored that bicycle kick? Maybe. But honestly, outside of the assist, there wasn't very much that I saw from Raveloson that impressed me from the center defensive mid position yesterday.
I agree. I just want to bounce off that just real quick. With how Ryan played, especially later in the match, once Seattle scored that third goal, you mentioned Casey. They had that low block throughout the entire match, and I felt like we were given so much space in the midfield to move the ball forward, and I felt like the Galaxy really, really struggled doing that. And I noticed that especially when Victor Vasquez came on, and I thought, that's what Victor Vasquez does. He knows how to move the ball forward. And I just felt like that was lacking. And that's where I noticed like Raveloson kind of hide a little bit. And that kind of stuck with me as well.
Absolutely. Raveloson is the verdict is still out. A lot of people were very impressed with his first couple games last season, right? Where he, I think he scored 3 or 4 games back to back. It was impressive goals. He's a phenomenal athlete, right? And he's proven that he's a hustler. He's got like a four set of lungs, by the way. The guy's great. So a little bit of a regression, fair to say. So we're gonna have to keep our eyes on that. But
I will say this just real quick. I think Casey's right on a lot of counts. I do think he had some redeeming qualities though that he did do better. He struggled this season for sure. His long passes has always been a little bit of his Achilles heel, and he hit 7 for 7 last game. So that's a bit of an improvement for sure.
Yeah.
The assist was nice in that it was very simple, but it's also very composed, and composure has never been a Galaxy strength. And then finally, the Seattle had 5 yellow cards during that game, and 3 of them came from Raveloson getting fouled. So, I think the problem is it's a consistency issue. The bad that he does is super duper bad, but the good that he does is not, being replicated by anybody else on the team. Hopefully he'll settle down into a more consistent, useful part of the team. But that's all I'll say about Raveloson. I don't think Casey's wrong, but it's a little bit of a two-way street with that guy, at least for now.
Absolutely. So with that said, I think we've covered all the bad. Yep. Pretty bad. Now, normally we finish off with the ugly, but we're going to kind of forego that this time around. We're going to open it up. Before we do the giveaway, we're going to open it up to some questions that you guys might have in the chat room. It's been a very active chat room all night. So if you guys have any pressing questions regarding the team, now's the time. We'll do our best to answer them. Let's see.
Q&A time.
8,000 RPM says, I want those tickets, Chris. They are coming, sir. Tickets are coming. We've had some funny chats. Let me look at this. I vote for Leardam Williams to pew back. Well, actually, that was somebody was saying
Great.
Not slow and fat and old like Costa. And somebody said here, same 8,000 RPMs. I'm telling you guys, Galaxy needs Salvadorian players, cheap, short, quick, and hungry. Mostly for pupusas, very hungry.
Not the one we signed though, but that's.
Word of the day is nepotism.
Yeah.
Let's see. A question from John Sanabria 13 says, should Costa be kept past his initial contract? That's a very good question. Listen, 6 months, right? That's going to get us into the summer, right? 6 months. I'd say give him another month and see how one pupusa on me. See how well he does.
$8 pupusa. Sheesh. Nice.
See how well he does. I'd say give him a month. There really shouldn't be any excuses for Douglas Costa. He's had he came in mid-season form. He was with Gremio. Some adjustment period, perhaps, to the league. His new team members should be up and running in about a month. And if we don't see any production after a month or two, then 6 months, maybe consider it, right? We had another super chat from Jennifer. It says, one pupusa on me, $20.
That's what I'm saying. One for
at
one.
the stadium, $20 might get you half a pupusa, but worth it because they were delicious. So let's see. Should Williams start next game over Sega? Absolutely. If Williams is healthy and he's ready to go, Williams is far more physical than Sega. And I feel like has far more experience. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Man, I don't know. I think
Williams.
I like how Koulibaly's been playing. He's very calm on the ball. He's a long ball specialist, really. He had 25 long ball attempts yesterday, and I think he was successful with 22 of them. And he just seems very composed under pressure, and he clears the ball out to good areas. And I honestly would prefer him over Williams. I feel like I haven't seen enough of Williams yet to be able to make that call. But for what I've seen from Sega, I like him starting over Williams for now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Thank you for bringing that long ball stat, because honestly, when I think of Williams, I think of him being the best distributor out of the back that the Galaxy have. So I guess if Sega's pulling numbers like that, then maybe I'm wrong. But because
And a lot of those situations, in the long ball yesterday were a little bit forced, just because there were moments where that back line looked a little bit indecisive, especially under pressure in the corners. But he's, like you said, he distributes the ball well into areas of the field from the back line, and I think that proves effective in the way we've been playing.
We have a good question here from Alias Zero. He says, "What's the goal for Costa?" Now, I'm actually working on some stats for that. Same thing we did for Chicharito in his first year, where we kind of averaged out what the strikers in MLS since 2014 to 2020, what the average goal was for a player in his position. We're going to do the same for Douglas Costa, but I would say that a realistic goal for Douglas Costa is to at least get double-digit assists this season and a couple of goals, 5-6 goals. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that a fair assessment? Double-digit goals, double-digit assists, 10 assists perhaps, 5 goals. I think that would be fair.
No, I'd be more ambitious. I think he needs to go 10-10.
10 and 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a lot better. He's a lot better than the rest of the players in the league. It's clear. It's just whether he can stay healthy or not. And if you're paying him $5 million, 10 and 10, I don't think is unreasonable at all. To be perfectly frank with you, I would have. I mean, if Alessandrini was here, we'd be expecting 10 for 10 from him. Is Douglas
$2 million?
Costa? Should we have lower expectations for Douglas Costa than we had for Ramon Alessandrini? I don't think so. Now will he hit it? I don't know, but I don't think asking for 10 for 10 from a $5 million DP player is too much to ask.
That's fair. And I would say that. I'm just saying 10-5 because I'm also trying to be a little realistic, and I don't think he'll give us
that's fair.
more than that because, but we'll see. Eli, what do you think? Fair enough? What would you say is a reasonable goal for Douglas Costa this season?
Well, no, I mean, I agree with Matt. You don't sign a player for $5 million to have them in single digits of anything, so obviously I'm gonna say 10 and 10. I'm on the Costa hype train. I don't care what anyone says. But realistically, I would hope for like 7 and 7 as like a midway between 5 and 10, or maybe an 8 and 8 year, and I'll be fine with it. We've seen some great DP10s in MLS have those types of seasons in their first years, and in their second years do better. So that's what I would expect. And I think obviously the goal with Costa is to win MLS Cup with him. I know that's like such a sellout response. But I mean, I do think we saw flashes of a great MLS team in this match. And yes, we got to defend set pieces better. Yes, we need better efforts from guys like Julian Araujo, whether it's an attitude shift, and then we need Kevin Cabral to actually be a real soccer player. If we could figure some of those minor kinks out, this team is actually a great team in MLS. And I'm more convinced about that after watching this match than I was after watching the first 2 matches.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, those first 10, 15 minutes for the LA Galaxy, and then sporadically here and there throughout the game, they showed that. I would agree with that, Eli. Now let's take one final question from Sports or Not. He said, Edwards potentially en route to new player of the year. That is a good question. So far, he has been the most productive player on the team. I mean, Chicharito scored the 2 goals, right? But those goals came from Raheem Edwards. And so we've talked about it on the show. We're fans of Raheem Edwards. I personally, I've seen the guy play. He's so athletic for a big guy because he's built. He's a larger guy. He's so athletic. He's a hustler. He fights for the balls. He's running up and down the wing. He's obviously he's got that mentality of a winger, right? Always eager to join in on the attack. Passes well. We've seen that. He's a great passer. He's got that vision, right? So it's not just one thing to be a good passer. It's another thing to be a good passer and to have that vision. see the ball, see the player before the play even happens. Right? That's not common. So very high on him. I think that he's en route to being player of the year, unless, Chicharito outdoes himself and scores 20-something plus goals this season. He's going to be hard to beat if he does. But fair enough. I think so.
Yeah, and especially for being one of the, if you look at the salary sheet, he's one of the lower paid players on the team, and he's obviously put more of the effort forward than some of the higher paid players on the team. So, obviously it's maybe a little too early to tell, but he's certainly put the effort in, and he, like you said, Chris, his vision is just impeccable, being able to penetrate the box with his passes and to find those areas and find Chicha or Raveloson on the run there. He's certainly made the difference in this squad in my mind so far.
Right on. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys joined us in the chat for our first live show. If you guys are listening to this after the show's been released live, you guys are probably listening to this on your way to work Monday morning or Tuesday morning, whenever it is you're listening to it. We appreciate it once again. This show is possible because of you guys. Appreciate every single one of the people that came on and just gave money. It was so amazing. Big shout out to them making it possible. We're stretch limo. Here we come. Gucci's, Dolce & Gabbana. So we appreciate it. But with that said, it is time for that giveaway. We've been teasing it all episode long. Here it is. It is one simple question. The first person to answer the question in the chat gets the 2 tickets. All you have to do is get in touch with me, either through social media or through my email, wherever it is, through the YouTube. Send me your email and you will receive those 2 tickets to the Orlando game. So the question is, and here it is, you better get your fingers on that keyboard. You got to type this out fast. The question is, 1996, the first season for the LA Galaxy. In that 1996 season, who was the LA Galaxy's top goal scorer? Here it goes. And the winner is, so far nobody's typed it in yet. I see a lot of people Googling this probably. 1996 was a long time ago. Who's it going to be? 8,000 RPM. I'm sorry. That's the wrong answer.
Oh, no. We got it wrong.
Wrong answer twice. No. Back to back. People are Googling this. Who's Googling this?
I had a name in mind, but I realized they weren't on the Galaxy yet.
Look at this.
That was a good question.
It wasn't Pescadito. Pescadito wasn't on the team yet. I'm seeing a lot of wrong answers.
It was a big weapon. I'll give you a hint. It was a big weapon. A real big weapon.
Big guy.
Definitely something you want on the battlefield.
2 tickets right there for Jennifer. She got it right. It was Tanque Hurtado.
There you go.
How did you guys not know this? Ding, ding, ding. Congratulations. Ticket winner. 2 tickets to the home game, Orlando versus LA Galaxy next weekend. Eduardo Hurtado was the top goal scorer. And I see that 21, 24 goals, something like that, 1996. So good job. We're going to highlight that one right there. That's the correct answer. Boom, just like that. So there you guys have it. Carlos Pavon. He came on very late. So there it is, guys. Appreciate it once again. To my co-host, Matt, Casey, thank you guys for being on. To our special guest, Eli Lesser. Dude, you're phenomenal. Keep up the good work. We appreciate it. Every time I see you at the stadium, dude, it's always a pleasure. So we got to have some pupusas next time. All right? They're on me, dude.
And don't forget, if you didn't catch the live show, but you're watching this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, subscribe, leave a comment, and it puts you in the raffle for this jersey.
How can I get one of them?
And you left a comment, you're already in the raffle, so no worries. You don't need to leave another one. So second raffle is a jersey.
Now, just briefly here, I get the live chat as it happens. And on the stream, it says that John answered first, but on the live chat, as I'm getting them right here on the stream, which is the real time, Jennifer was the first one to answer that. And I'll take a screenshot of that and I'll post it. But It's weird. I know Guessman has this problem too on Corner of the Galaxy. He always has to give this disclaimer that sometimes the messages come in out of sync. But the real time I'm seeing here on my screen. So John, you were like 2.5 seconds off from that answer, my brother. But yeah. So thanks again, guys, for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. We'll most likely going to be coming live to you guys next week. So thanks again, my wonderful guest. Boom. Galaxy guy out.